¿cómo hago? No quiero la parte del calendario, quiero ver el stream. Ahí está. Bueno, estamos en directo ya. ¿Qué te iba a decir? Si vos ves igual está puesta en la pantalla que están descomentando. Así que... dale. Va. ¿Y te aparece ya en directo a vos?
Báncame que es por ahí. Báncame que es por ahí.
¿Te aparece? Sí. ¿Aparece? Me parece que se está esperando el audio del micro ahí en contra. ¿Aparece? Igual que no me acuerdo de nada, así de chiste. Me parece que se está esperando el audio del micro ahí en contra. ¿Aparece? Igual que no me acuerdo de nada.
No, amigo, te va a encantar la historia. Ahora me grabo,
Dale. Yo igual no la voy a ver todavía, pero sí, te creo, amigo. Yo tengo fe en vos.
Ah, vas a esperar. ¿No podés? ¿Y desde la PC no podés?
Sí, pero es que se me está colando un poco el audio en el directo. El micro.
No querés arriesgar el hardware.
Claro, sí. Yo estoy muy atento, viste, que no... Como estoy en toda la parte que vendría a ser la configuración, viste, no quiero tocar nada extra que no tenga que tocar.
Ok, ¿qué digo en el video?
Tírate, sé creativo como sos vos, amigo. No sé, algo así como estamos para arrancar el directo.
Amigo, a mí me das la libertad para ser creativo. Yo me pongo en pelotas, boludo, y no duro nada. O sea,
¿Y qué pasa en realidad? Dale, ya, dale.
Che, amigo, hay que cambiar esa foto, urgente, boludo. Ahí está viendo.
Sí, no, hay que hacer la vuelta. Hay que hacer la vuelta.
No nos van a tomar en serio, boludo.
Pero ahora, así ya pongo nuestra cámara. Y arrancamos a hacer la previa nosotros.
Mándame un segundo. ¿Y vos? No, Instagram, boludo. Estoy bloqueando todo lo...
Estoy buscando a ver si de casualidad existe la chance de que pueda entrar a Instagram sin cagar todo. Pues yo me tengo que abrir la cuenta de Luma acá en Instagram, boludo. Voy a ver. Mi viejo ya me está rompiendo la bola por WhatsApp, luego. Se olvidó que la bola y dice no. Parado.
Amigo, le explicaste el contexto. Yo les dije a mis amigos, no me rompan las pelotas. Si necesitan para algo, me escriben.
No, yo hice lo mismo, pero bueno, evidentemente no suele ser su...
No te toman en serio.
Claro. Váyanse conectando gente, dice joya. Sí, alta historia, amigo, banco fuerte. Pará, vamos a lo que...
¿Viste? Igual ahí corrijo porque no puse bien el link. Ahí, así que ahí lo corrijo.
Sí, tranqui. A ver, yo voy a entrar al Instagram a ver si no me está escribiendo el chabón, pues ya me está escribiendo. Tipo, bro, la concha de tu madre.
Imaginás, boludo.
Sí. No. El último video después eso. Entonces, si no vaya a conectarse un poquito más tarde, le dije dale. Así que bueno. Sí. Estamos en directo hace rato, pero todavía no estamos en cámara. Así que cuando vos me digas, me decís.
Ven.
¿Estamos en cámara?
Ah, ¿cómo que no? Sí, boludo. Prefiero antes que... Sí, no fue.
Dale. Bueno. Estamos ya en directo. Estamos en directo. En instantes más, si no me equivoco, estaría llegando ya Marko. Recién me escribió que estaba llegando un poco tarde, así que nada, en unos par de minutos seguramente ya lo tengamos. ¿Todo tranqui vos?
Sí, estoy subiendo la historia. Sí, estoy subiendo.
Estamos haciendo la parte de la promoción. Yo encima
después de fallos técnicos, sabemos que eran las dos, lo sabemos muy bien, créanme, pero...
Tuve problemas con la cámara que me obligó lamentablemente a tener que usar la cámara del celu y no disponer de ella para poder hacer las historias, así que bueno.
Yo estoy encargando de las historias. No, y mi micrófono me traicionó, tipo, todos mis dispositivos eligieron el mejor momento, el peor momento de la semana para traicionarme.
No, sí. Por un momento pensamos que
acá de casualidad la cámara porque casi la rompo, boludo. No te jodo.
Casi le rompo la cabeza.
No te jodo.
Casi le rompo la cabeza.
Casi le rompo el lente. Casi le rompo el
Tenemos
lente.
la buena suerte de que decidió andar igual de todos modos, así que nada.
Tenemos la suerte de controlar mi ira.
Sí, la verdad que sí. Así que bueno, nada, vamos a hacer un poquito una pequeña previa antes de que se conecte el compañero. Nada, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué te parece? ¿Imaginaste que íbamos a llegar acá?
La verdad que no.
Yo la
Fue
verdad
un
que
camino
tampoco.
muy largo. La verdad que no.
Yo la verdad que no creí que íbamos a llegar acá, este día. Es
Ahí quedó bien
loquísimo.
el link. La posta. Hay que arriesgarse. Tipo, como tirar muchas cañas.
Como
Algo
con
vas a
todo.
arriesgar.
Como con todo.
Así
Eso
que,
es la vida.
o sea, no es como que alguien nos haya dicho que no en el camino. Tipo, solamente se trata de ser uno mismo. Ser libre. No restringirte.
Top
Yo
20
creo que
películas de Quentin Tarantino.
¿Qué cosa?
Top 5 películas de Quentin Tarantino.
A mí me dejó de gustar, boludo, con el tiempo. O sea, yo cuando tenía 16 años miraba una Tarantino y decía, no, es una locura. Las miro ahora y me parecen medio una pelotudez. Es por eso que te regalé el póster de Pulp Fiction, porque me dio como, mi top 5 sería, que es muy grande, boludo, ya como, vamos a reducirlo a un top 3, porque tanto no me gustan. Eh, en tercer lugar pongo a Pulp Fiction, muy
Sí.
buena, muy entretenida. Las primeras 40 veces fue entretenida. La vez 41 me empezó a aburrir. El segundo lugar, Perros de Reserva. Es
Esa
que
sabes
es,
que no la vi todavía.
esa
Tengo pendiente de verla esa. Tengo
la
pendiente de
primera
verla
vez que
esa.
la ves, la clave es la primera vez que la ves, porque tiene una cosa que no te puedo spoilear, pero
Eh,
no es solamente que ya sabes la historia. Hay una cosa un poquito compleja, que es bastante interesante, sobre todo la primera vez que la ves.
sí.
Entonces, está bastante. No es la típica película de robos, es distinta, tiene algo distinto. Y
¿Es sobre
eso
robo?
la hace. ¿Mm?
¿Es sobre robo? ¿Es sobre robo?
No,
¿Es sobre robo?
no, o sea, es más como la trama del robo en sí, todo la previa, lo que pasa después. De hecho, el
Claro,
robo
claro.
nunca te lo muestran. Originalmente lo iban a hacer, pero no alcanzó el presupuesto, pero al final eso de que no te muestran robo terminó siendo como lo icónico de la película.
Claro.
Y top 1, recontra y lo seguro, pero es la peli más comercial de él y la que más me entretiene es Kill Bill. O sea, perdón, ya
Kill
sé,
Bill.
es la más comercial, es la más mainstream, todo lo que quieras. Kill Bill 1, sí, es buenísima, esa sí no me canso de verla, boludo.
La quería en Pulp Fiction se llama Mía. Con. ¿Cómo se llama esta? No me sale el nombre de la actriz.
Uma Thurman.
Un otro man, esa no no me salía así. La misma. Que es la. No digo, es la. ¿Cómo se llama? Mía. Que tiene la sobredosis.
Exacto, Mia Wallace, Uma
El famoso
Thurman.
de los tomates.
Amigo,
Ketchup.
cuando esa escena, boludo, todas las veces que la veo ¿viste el meme de la cara de William Defoe? Todo serio. Esa fue mi cara todas las veces que vi esa escena, boludo.
Bueno, igual viste que ella le dice, te voy a contar un chiste, pero no te vas a reír, le dice. Tipo, no te vas a causar gracia.
Igual mi historia favorita de Pulp Fiction es la del gordo, la del negro con el jefe, que lo atropellan y de la nada terminan en un sótano de uno sadomasoquista.
Sí, la de
Me
Cell,
aparece
sí, la
Bruce
de
Willis.
Cell.
Y
Que
esa es la
termina
historia de
en
Willis.
de policía,
Lo
policía.
más falopa porque termina resolviendo el conflicto entre ellos dos. O sea, pasó algo tan random, algo tan exagerado.
Claro. Es como que necesitaron de eso para poder resolver el conflicto ahí, como de. Es gracioso que detrás de mí, boludo, estaba el recital de Japón 2004 de Sugarcult, boludo. Va, 2004 no, 2000, por ahí 7 creo que es. Más o
Bien
menos,
ahí, fiel con el lore, boludo.
olvídate, va, siempre.
Puta, las preguntas que se me ocurren es que son muy, te repito, de gustos personales. Yo le voy a preguntar, ¿qué te escribió? Pusiste
Dual.
cara de,
A ver.
ahí mejor el link.
Estoy revisando justamente eso, ¿viste? Como estoy en la parte administrativa, aparte de la parte.
No, te obligué a usar el celular para poder escucharme. Para poder escuchar mi opinión. Gracias.
Ahí también me preguntó la contraseña.
Oh, uy, la puta madre. Bueno, se viene.
Se viene, gente, Dale, Marco, dale, Marco, dale, Marco. Come on, Marco. Come on, come on. Dale, Marquitos. Lo que pasa es que el chabón me está hablando por mail.
No. Alto tecnicismo, boludo. Full formal.
Tipazo, amigo, tipazo, pero tipazo fuerte.
Tengo que sacarme un poco el concepto de lo que fue hablar con la gente nomeble y ser un poco más respetuoso. Y preferentemente que no me baneen de esta plataforma.
Ahí va. Ahí me la preguntó por Instagram. Listo, ahí me viene el mensaje, ahí se une.
Me ponen todo en silencio, boludo. Cosa.
Ahí me liqueó el mensaje, Se viene, el mensaje, Se viene,
Amigo, que no le salga la advertencia de la página. Tipo, me hizo desconfiar a mí, boludo, que cargo cualquier cosa.
Uf.
Hello there. Le decimos.
Hello there. Estoy como nervioso, amigo.
Yo también, boludo.
Primera entrevista. Uf. Son como los momentos ahí. Llegué justito, dice Gamel. Están como ahí, como una cosa en el aire, ¿viste? Como que te da.
Amigo, acabo de comer, voy a vomitar.
Estamos en la misma. Aparte creo que es la primera entrevista que da en Argentina. O sea, nunca escuché, o sea, mirá que me busqué entrevistas para ver qué onda.
¿Sugarcult con Argentina alguna vez?
Eso quería preguntarle. Vos sabés que yo no encontré nada, pero capaz que estuvieron en un barcito o algo de eso, ¿viste?
Puede ser, quizá. Sé que New Fan Glory estuvo acá un par de veces.
Claro, por digo, sí, habría que preguntarle ahora a él qué opina, sí, o qué opina lo que sabe él, digamos, si estuvieron o no en un barcito, ¿viste?
Podría ser. Ah, ahí va.
We made it happen. Yay.
Yeah.
How are you, Marco?
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm so sorry for all the.
Don't worry.
No problem. We had a problem before with the camera because our microphone was not working, and well.
It's okay. Where are you guys in the world?
We're from Argentina.
Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires.
I love Argentina. I've never been there, but I've met a lot of people from there, and it's such a cool, like, everyone's so cool from there. It makes me really want to go. And I love Argentinian food. I just love the whole culture.
What do you like of Argentina?
I mean, I've never been physically there, but everybody I know from Argentina is awesome, and anything I've ever tried from Argentina is amazing. So I really want to go sometime. I feel like ashamed of myself because I've traveled all over the world, but for some reason I've never been to South America, and I feel kind of, I feel like that's just a huge missing link in my life,
Yeah.
So you guys, unfortunately, I probably only have until 11, so for 30 minutes. So let's just dive right in, okay? Make it awesome, okay?
Yeah.
Argentina rules. I want to come visit you guys sometime. Are you guys in Buenos Aires?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that this thing? You say you've never been in Argentina, okay? So I must know that Sugarcult was never there before.
I know, not yet.
Oh,
one day maybe. There's some secret Sugarcult activity that I haven't told anybody about, but I'm telling you guys about because I can't keep a secret. So maybe there'll be some kind of Sugarcult activity in Argentina soon, hopefully.
Oh my God! This is
God.
really surprising. This is a really beautiful news. It's really.
I'm put it this way: I'm open to it. So one of the things I really want to do, if and when we do some kind of version of Sugarcult moving forward, is to prioritize going to places in the world where we never went in our original incarnation. So going to South America would be lovely. Going to Southern Europe would be lovely. Going to Mexico, going to, there's just so many places on Earth that we haven't. China would be amazing. There's just so many places. Korea. There's a lot of places we have never been.
I
So,
saw. I had an DVD from Sugarcult. Was named. I don't know if you remember. Back to the Disaster.
oh, of course, yeah, Back to the
Yeah,
Disaster.
you're in
You saw
Japan,
that? Did you make
and
it
was
all the way through? You didn't get bored?
yeah. Let me say something. A lot of our spectators doesn't know who are you because well, we have a lot of people that are seeing us from different genres. So we prepared a presentation for you. So if you wanted to hear it, here it is.
Sure. Yeah, let's
Uh,
do it.
Today, we have the honor of speaking with a musician whose name has left a lasting mark on the history of early 2000s pop punk and alternative rock, Marko DeSantis. Best known as the lead guitarist of Sugarcult, the band behind anthems like Memory and Bouncing Off the Walls, his career spans far beyond that. In addition to his time with bands like Pop Psycho and the Excitals, Marko has built a multifaceted path as an educator, DJ, composer for film and television, and mentor to emerging artists. With a trajectory that blends international touring success and a deep commitment to music education, Marko DeSantis stands as a key figure in contemporary music culture. So, without further ado, let's welcome Marko DeSantis.
Hey, here I am. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can live up to that amazing description of me, but I hope you. I'm going to have you talk to my mom later and tell her all those things so she can know that her kid was not a loser.
Yeah. You know, I read
did the same.
I read a lot. I never I didn't want to lose anything. You know.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm down, like, if you guys just, so I grew up in California in a pretty small town called Santa Barbara, very beautiful place. But it's about 100 miles away from Los Angeles, which is obviously a really big city.
Yes.
And, it's weird when you grow up in a small town and you're obsessed with music like I was. Me and my friends, we all found each other in a small town, and music was kind of the thing we had in common. We'd all see each other at the record store or see each other at concerts or at little like punk rock shows, and then we just found like people in our neighborhood to play music with, and we just all started bands, and none of us really knew how to play, but we just kind of figured it out. And just I think like like your friend across the street gets good at something, so then they teach you how to do it, and then you teach your other friend how to do it. We all sort of sharpened each other a little bit, and
Yes.
And that kind of just accidentally created this little music community in our town, and we all just floated through the years and learned from each other, really, and then eventually started to form bands that actually sounded good.
If
They
I-
complement each other. They complement.
In the early days, it's not even about whether you don't go see bands and go to shows. At least in the world I grew up in, it was more just like about being young and about getting excited about hanging out with your friends and
living the moment. Living the moment.
And music was really just a sort of like, not to get too like hippy dippy, but like if you think about human beings, like
Things in the air. Things in the air.
hundreds of thousands of years, we would all gather around a fire pit, right? Probably because we wanted to be warm, and people would tell stories. People would find mates. People would find mates. People would teach each other things. And so you were kind of attracted to this flame, this like fire, because you also needed it to be warm and to sort of just. So that's sort of what music in our group of friends in our town, music was kind of our fire. It was like the place where we would gather around, and it didn't really matter if the band was. Most of the bands we went and saw, we didn't even know what they sounded like. We just heard they were coming to town, or they were our friends' bands playing a show. We just went to sports.
You don't know.
And then you kind of catch fire from that fire, and you start your own fire, and that's really what how it all started, if I really think about it. And then eventually Sugarcult happened after years and years. Like you said, I was in a band called Pop Sicko back in the 90s. I was in a band called Swingin' Utters. I was in a band called Nerfer. I was in a band called the Ataris. I was in a lot of short-lived, it's like relationships. It's like you date here and there.
Yeah, when you are in a lot of different bands, but just for little times.
A little bit, yeah, like little flings. And then I really was craving something more deep and more meaningful, and I couldn't really find it. And then I found the guys in Sugarcult, and we just started playing together for fun, and we really hit it off as friends. We had a lot of love for Nirvana, the thing on your buddy's hat right there. We bonded over just stuff we liked, and we just mostly enjoyed each other's company. And then, do we enjoy talking to each other, hanging out? Do we like see the world in a
explore the sense? Explore the sense.
And the music was like, well, okay, you play this, I'll play that.
Who is Star Static. Star Static. So you have 2 albums before that's called 11 and like demos,
11
something
and
like
Plastic, but they're not really albums. They're more just like, it's like they're collections of our early demos. So our earliest demos, we had 11 songs, and we put it out and called it 11. Like it wasn't a big thought.
Just more magic.
Yeah, we just like
mixtapes maybe
ourselves and gave it to our friends. And then we made another one called "Wrap Me Up in Plastic," which was like our demos that led to what got us discovered for Start Static, and those were better songs in my opinion. And we actually like printed them up nicely, and they're out of print now, but you can find them out there somewhere, if you look around online or on YouTube, and some of the songs are good. Actually, we did the 20th anniversary vinyl of Start Static, and you can get it on like Spotify and Apple Music and whatever. And we put one of our old songs from Wrap Me Up in Plastic, a song called "Say I'm Sorry." Which I thought was a great song, and it was actually supposed to be recorded for Start Static, but once we started making the record, we realized it didn't fit on the record. Like there was, it's kind of when you make a record we're kind of older, so like we grew up listening to full-length records, like either on vinyl or CD, and so we really like if you listen to all 3 Sugarcult records, if you listen to Start Static, Palm Trees and Power Lines, and Lights Out, I really want you to appreciate. Like, listen to it from start to finish, and it tells you a story. It's like watching a movie.
It's important.
I did it.
The order of the songs is important.
Trilogy. It's almost like Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and then then like 11 and Wrap Me Up in Plastic are like the prequels. They're like the
well, in Star Wars work.
Yeah.
Well,
Star Wars,
it's work in
analogy.
In that saga.
Yeah.
I
want you to know that when we made those records, we weren't just thinking, what are some good songs we have? We were thinking, what are good songs we have that fit this narrative we're trying to tell? This, because I think "Say I'm Sorry," in my opinion, it's a better song than let me think. What songs are on Start Static? I can't even remember. To me, it's a better song than I Changed My Name. It's a better song than Crashing Down. But if you listen to the record, that record needs Crashing Down. It needs, I Changed My Name. So you make a record thinking this is going to be like a course, like you're giving someone a dinner, like you start with an appetizer, then you have a main course, then you have this, then you have an appetizer.
Of the chill song after of the heavy song.
And you need that. And I guess the Sugarcult records were made in a sort of old-fashioned mindset, not thinking people were just going to like pick one song a la carte and make a playlist. That's why some people say, oh, they're a pop punk band, because we have some songs that would be considered pop punk, like maybe Bouncing Off the Walls or Daddy's Little Defect, South America. But there's also songs on there that you would never think were pop punk, like Hate Every Beautiful Day. That sounds more like a grunge kind of song, like, and then there's like Lost in You, which sounds like to me that sounds like just some like, I don't know. Like
I really like the riff of the Saying Goodbye. Saying Goodbye is more
that's
a sentimental thing. Sorry, I don't speak English very well, but
you speak English fine, dude. I don't speak. What the primary language in Argentina is Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish.
I don't speak Spanish very well either, and I'm ashamed of myself because I grew up in Santa Barbara, California. Every street, every school I went to, everything is Spanish in where I grew up, and so. Yeah.
Do you know any word in Spanish?
What's that?
Do you know any word in Spanish? Something like a food?
Oh, yeah. I know lots of words in Spanish. I know how to say chupa mi verga. I know how to say.
Here is like chúpame la pija.
I know how to say lots of words. Tienes mota.
I know there have a problems with the Starbucks tea, like the dulce de leche latte.
Oh, dulce de leche. Yeah.
Dulce.
That's Spanish. Yeah. See. Yeah. So, and I have my dad's side of the family is Italian. So, but I also don't speak Italian. I'm just like, typical dumb American. I only learned one language. You can see I speak Italian because I talk with my hands.
I must tell you that someone in the chat who is a friend that is seeing us says that you are a tipazo. Here in Argentina, a tipazo, we say that to people that is really great, people that is just good,
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Well, tell them I said muchas gracias.
Yeah, you know it.
Hey, see?
You know it.
Hola, muchacha. All right.
If you...
It's a Mexican accent,
Oh, is that okay?
California.
You grow up. Most of the Spanish you're exposed to in California is
the tacos.
Mexico who come over here. Because California is basically Mexico. It's like really close.
It's like Tom DeLonge. He born there.
Oh yeah, he was born right in San Diego, like right by Tijuana. Yeah.
I know he likes the Mexican food.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, Mexican food's amazing. Yeah, totally.
I like the hot sauce.
There's a lot of jokes about Mexican food.
Oh,
Can you say it is right?
Probably. I don't know what they are. But Sugarcult, just we put those records out and we toured all over the world. I mean, we missed a lot of parts. We haven't been to South America, but we toured all over Europe and we went to Japan a lot. Went all over America. We did the Warped Tour 3 times. We toured with Blink-182 twice, once on the East Coast in America, and then once all over Northern Europe. So the UK and Northern Europe. We toured with Green Day twice. We toured with them on the American Idiot Tour. We got to open for Green Day all over America. It was Green Day, Newfound Glory, and Sugarcult. And then they invited us to go with them to Japan. And we went to Japan and did all over Japan with them for the American Idiot Tour over there. So that was really fun. We become good friends with Green Day. And as a matter of fact, it was really cool because this, I'm sure you saw this on my Instagram. If you're out there, go to my Instagram and check this out.
Yeah. Did you know that Argentinian people is
I
one of
play
the
remote song
best
with Billy Joe, with a couple of the guys in Green Day, because they have a project called the Cover Ups, where they do cover songs. You know, they play other classic songs, and they invited me to do "Rockaway Beach" by the Ramones with them. It was a band raise money for LA fire victims, so it was really cool. It like warmed my heart. You know, they're such kind, thoughtful people. They're so down to earth. For such like gigantic rock stars. You know, they're still just like punk rockers. You know, it's definitely cool. It's definitely cool.
Please, can you tell us who are the musicians that inspired and led you to become part of a band like Sugarcult? Who are the top people that you heard and you say, well, I want to make a band?
Oh man, I mean, I don't know. I've probably wanted to be a band before I even knew. I think before I even knew what music was, the idea of being in a band was exciting to me, you know, and that's, you know, from when you're a little kid. Like, to me, I didn't see the difference between rock stars, comic book hero, like superheroes, you know, athletes, you know, famous soccer players. Like, to me, just anybody who did something that seemed extraordinary or seemed magic, that was exciting to me. And or even movie stars, comedians. You know, it's just, I feel like when you're looking around at the world as a young person, when you're a kid, you're
Like
kind of,
icons.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you sort of just look around and you go, I don't know if I just want to be, you know, I want to be something. I want to be something kind of out of this world. I want to be something kind of extraordinary. I don't just want to be an ordinary person. You know, my dad was just a real like working class Roman, you know, who just did the same job his dad did. You know, went to work, got his every day, got his pension, and you know, and that just didn't appeal to me. My mom was someone who grew up in a very poor family and then made her wildest dreams come true. You know, she became a modern dance choreographer and a dancer, and you know, just somebody who like, she made it look possible to me. Because most people will look at you and they say, oh, you want to do music? Okay, well, I mean, you got to have a backup plan. What are you going to, you know? And for me, it was just like, I just,
That's me.
Yeah, I thought like, well, no, you get to live, as far as I know, we get to live once. And, you know, why not like take the more exciting way and at least try? You know, there's no guarantees if you, I mean, you know, you start trying to play music, you don't know what's to do. And then once you figure it out, there's still, the odds are so stacked against you, it seems impossible that anything's ever going to happen. And I got close a couple times before Sugarcult. Like I said, I was in a band called Popsicle, and we got really close to like becoming successful. And then our singer became a drug addict and died. So like, you just never know what's going to happen. And with even Sugarcult, we got pretty big, but then things kind of leveled out. We had a big problem with our record company, and our singer had some problems with his ears. So like, you appreciate every day you get to do it, but you never know how long you're going to get to do it. And so for me, it was just like, I want to make I don't want to be one of those people sitting at home, like coming home after work and just getting drunk. And
just exciting. Just exciting.
Yeah, just watching TV. Like, I want to be on TV. I want to be the one doing the thing that other people are watching. I just want to sit there and drink a beer and watch the sports game. I want to be on the field playing it, you know? And I also I go out to concerts all the time. I go to games all the time. I love watching people do something extraordinary, but mostly because it inspires me and it reminds me what the possibilities in life. You know, I don't just sit back and go, oh, that must be so great to be somebody who's done something great. And I've met so many. I've met, like, you know, he's the Nirvana hat. I've met Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, who was the drummer of Nirvana.
Yeah, the concerts are like you fuel, you know.
Oh my God, he's such a great dude. But like, I've met him a bunch of times, and because you know, I know someone who's in the band, and he's just another example. If you read his book, it's a really good book, the Dave Grohl book that he made about 2 years ago. It's like, he's an example of just another kid who grew up and just followed his wildest dreams and like turn them into, you know what I mean? It's like, we want to believe this only happens to someone else, but I'm telling you, like, Dave Grohl's just a punk rocker. I'm just a hack, you know, I can barely play guitar. You know, most of the people I know, the guys in Green Day, are just total dorks. You know, it's like most of the people I know who've achieved their wildest dreams are just like everyday people, but they just didn't buy into the idea that something that success is something that only happens to someone else.
Yeah,
You have to
I think that you can be artist without be famous. You know, you have the mind artist in your head. It's just
well, the fame and the money and the attention, that doesn't come first. You know, that follows it. If you're, you know, if the stars align,
sometimes
you don't have control over that. You have control over getting up, getting out of bed, organizing something, you know, putting on a show, going to a show, getting together, getting some people together, teaching your friend how to play bass, starting band, you know, organizing a rehearsal schedule, coming up with a logo, booking a show, putting on some shows for starting a scene where you live. You have, that's the things you have control over. And then if you can do that, I feel like it sort of like becomes magnetic, and other people, like, go back to my flame analogy, if you start some kind of a fire, other people are going to notice the smoke, and they're going to go, hey, look, I wonder what's going on over there. And they're going to be attracted to it. And then you're going to create community.
Trying the attention of the minds.
We can't just sit there looking at the TV and looking at the posters on our wall and marveling at our heroes. At some point, we have to turn our friends into our own heroes, and we have to be a hero to our friends and create our own local version of it. And I mean, I just like to say this because, like, a lot of people, I work with a lot of young aspiring musicians, and I think that there's a disconnect. There's something that makes people think, oh, you have to play some big show somewhere, you have to get a record deal. None of that is true. Like, you just have to start, like I always say, think globally, act locally. Like, get your friends together. Like, that's the best gift we got from punk rock and hip hop, is like both of these music started by teenagers in a really small, bad neighborhood, you know, and then they grew into something that the whole world now makes millions of dollars and the whole world enjoys. So
yeah, like these years in the band Kitty, you know, she have 14 in the moment that beginning.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere.
Really young. Really young.
So we only have a couple minutes. We only have like 10 minutes. So I just want to make sure, is there any other good questions you guys have? Because I definitely want you guys to be happy.
Yeah. Can you tell us, please, you know, you wanted to have a band, okay, but what made you start playing guitar, sorry? You know, just that instrument, and not drums or singing, exactly, only singing.
The guitar.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I think that, and I'm sorry, I didn't really answer your question about my influences, you know, what bands. I mean, I just, like I said, it wasn't really about which bands. It was just about the idea of playing music. And I just, it all looked exciting to me. You know, rock and roll and punk rock and hard rock just always seemed the most exciting to me. I was never good at my instrument. So I think that, like, when I first got into music, it was probably into like more like the metal kind of stuff. And then I just couldn't really figure out how to play it. And it was so, like, I was too impatient to like learn how to play like Iron Maiden or Ozzy Osbourne or Metallica or even like Motley Crue.
That's happened.
You know, and so eventually, like, a kid in my class like turned me on to like Black Flag and Suicidal Tendencies and DRI and GBH and some of the like punk rock kind of stuff. A lot of my friends were skaters, so I learned about that, and then I could pick up that stuff on my guitar really fast. And then me and my friends started playing in a band like right away. And then I actually switched from guitar to bass because I wanted to be in a band with these older kids that were really good at guitar. And so
right?
What's that? In Popsicle. Yeah. And the band before that when I was a teenager, so I played bass for a really long time. But I always played guitar at home. I always loved guitar, but I just, like, to me, it was more like the bass was just easier, and I could get better faster and keep up with the kids that were like I said, I know this is kind of a name drop, but one of my best friends from growing up is the lead guitarist of the Foo Fighters. And so he was, when we were growing up, he was like a year older than me, and he was already really good at guitar. And so I switched to bass so I could be in a band with him. Okay. And then we played in the band for a couple of years, and then, you know, we all grew up, went our separate ways. But you know, guitar was always a part of my life. And when I met Tim from Sugarcult, he had already gotten a bass player, Aaron, our bass player. And I was, well, dude, I'd love to play in a band with you. And I was kind of like, you know, call me if Aaron ever quits. And then he called me up and said, dude, would you want to play guitar? And I was like, sure. You know, it was like very fun. Going back to my original instrument, because guitar is what I started on, mostly because like your mom's not going to let you have a drum set in the house. And I didn't want to have to take piano lessons. Guitar just, you know, it's like, it looks cool. It just, you know, I don't know. It just looked like
they were all doing anything in the first album of Foo Fighters, doing anything, drums, bass, guitar. He does.
Yeah, Dave. Well, you know, you learn about Dave when you read his book. You learn that he actually started on guitar, and then he you know, learned all the other instruments too. But you know, he's
there's a lot of musicians.
Yeah.
There's a lot of musicians that love to play any unexpected instrument, and they, for one reason or for other, they want to play another instrument in any band because they want to test what it feels, or maybe, you know, just to do something different.
It's true. It's true. And you know how it is, like if you guys play in bands, like when you're at practice, you always get on each other's instruments and switch around, you know, like it probably drives the drummers crazy, but you always want to get on the drum kit and, you know, play around. You all know how to do a little bit of everything. You know, everyone I've ever played with, like any drummer knows how to play a little bit of guitar player knows how to play a little bit of drums. Actually, a lot of bands that, you know, Sugarcult singer Tim started on drums. So he's a really good drummer. And if you listen to our songs, he's a really good rhythm guitar player, similar to Dave Grohl, because he has the drummer rhythm. He has that really good steady beat. So when he's in the studio, like his hand is just a metronome. He's like
the muscle memory.
Yeah, memory. Yeah. So
I've seen an interview with David Grohl, and he said that just years ago, maybe.
Wait, what'd you say?
I've seen an interview of David Grohl. I mean, a month ago, and he saw that he did the drum pattern just to play the guitar and to compose.
Yeah, you saw that on that's on the oh god, what's his podcast called? Chris Shiflett, my friend who's in the Foos, he has a podcast, a great guitar podcast called Shred with Shifty, and he's got the episode with Matt and Dave on it, and they show you how he's doing that. Yeah, it's really cool. So you're excited to how that band's dynamic. It's cool. But you know, to be honest, like before my friend was even in, like before I got to meet the Foo Fighters, when I first got together with Tim and Sugarcult, they were a huge influence on us. I would say Foo Fighters and you know, Nirvana and like bands like, you know, Oasis and Weezer, you know, just a lot of the 90s sort of radio bands. Green Day is a big influence on Sugarcult.
Weezer is like the prelude of the pop punk, I think.
Yeah. So a lot of power pop.
The concept.
There's a weird kind of music called power pop that a lot of people don't really know about. It's from the early. It's really misunderstood. It's kind of happened just around the same time as like early like British punk rock. And
it's like the concept. It's like the
a band called the Knack, called Cheap Trick. There's a guy called Elvis Costello. There's a guy called Nick Lowe. There's a lot of these. There's a band called the Cars. You know, some of these bands had some radio hits, and if you go back and listen to them, it's like, you know, it's funny because we have that in common with Green Day. We love a lot of those bands, the Plimsouls, and you go back and listen to them, and you can see some of the like early. So me and Tim were very much students of that. We would like bond over that and listen to these old, because they were kind of old records. By the time we started the band in the late 90s, these were records that had been kicking around since the early 80s, late 70s. So we really enjoyed this sort of I called it cultural anthropology. Like you go and dig in the record stores and find these old records where people just look so cool and their music sounded like, they had such cool little hooks in their music and cool ideas. So we would just mine those records for ideas. If you look at Sugarcult, if you look at the pictures of us on the back of Start's Attic, we're just totally imitating the Blondie and the Cars and Costello and the Clash. Like those were our
Kurt Cobain like the Cars. I think
they're great. I mean, that guitar player Elliot Easton is so great, and yeah, I mean that's a lot of it too. You one of the things I always encourage young people to do is get curious about the influences of your influences. So like we love Nirvana, then you find out Nirvana loves the Replacements. You find out Nirvana loves Cheap Trick. You find out Nirvana loves, the Pixies, and you go back and listen to those bands, but you listen to it with a little bit more forgiveness because you know that the bands you respect like those bands. So now you really listen and give it a chance. Where before I listened to some of those bands, I was like, oh, I don't get it, But now that I know Kurt Cobain likes it, I'm going to go back and listen to it a little more carefully. Husker Du, Soul Asylum. So it's a fun way to be a music fan. And then you can keep going. You can find out who Cheap Trick listened to and who the Replacements listened to. And that leads you back to the Rolling Stones and the Who and the Beatles. And then you can keep going to Chuck Berry and Little Richard and, all that kind of stuff. And then you can keep going. You can go back as far as you want. Music is endless. And it's so fun to just become a student of it and learn from it all. If you're fans of the White Stripes, I love Jack White. And he's constantly he's kind of a missionary of roots music. You learn about the obscure blues and folk and roots music. And it all starts to make sense when you start to see it. To me, it's all the same. To me, there's nothing different between early Bob Dylan and Black Flag and,
it's like the energy that
and whatever, even Travis Scott, all this music comes from a source that is very dangerous, very underground, very, very weird. And then it grows and turns into something that inspires people. And it's really cool,
So, you know that you exactly right now are being the floor of future bands, just sure.
I don't. What do you say?
You're the floor of the
you are the floor of the future bands that are coming.
I hope so. I mean,
the influence, the actual influence.
Yeah, I mean, I have met. I've met some bands. I might have to go soon. I met some bands that have said that I've actually become friends with. Do you know the band Pierce the Veil?
Yeah, Vic Fuentes, right?
Yeah. So Vic Fuentes, he and I became friends. He's a really nice guy, and he told me that when he was 14, he used to listen to Sugarcult, and that his old band opened for us when they were still just a local band in San Diego before Pierce the Veil. And then I met. Do you know Kellen Quinn from the band Sleeping with Sirens?
Hey, yes.
He told me a story. It made me feel really old. But he said when I met him, I went to his show and I got backstage and I met him, really nice guy. And he told me that that when he was 11 years old, his mom bought him Start Static, and it was his first CD.
Wow, that's great.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
And then one more band, because this is kind of a crazy story, is the band Of Mice and Men. They were kind of a metalcore band from maybe
Violet from a Valentine, or
they're kind of like that, but a little more heavy. Of Mice and Men, they were called. They're pretty big. Look them up.
Oh, and Of Mice and Men. I know it.
Saying he saw Sugarcult when he was 13 or 14 years old, and that was the moment, his first band he saw live, and made him want to be in a band. So I have three. I have Mice and Men, Pierce the Veil, and Sleeping with Sirens. And all of them are really heavy bands, somehow influenced by Sugarcult.
Yeah.
Who knew Sugarcult was the precursor to metalcore?
Well, Lemmy from Motorhead, he learned of the Beatles.
Oh yeah. I met Lemmy a few times because he lived in LA, and we got to both play at this Ramones tribute. And so he was outside smoking a cigarette, and he told me all about how he grew up in Liverpool, and he used to go see the Beatles when he was like 13, and he's smoking a cigarette. He's just like, you know, mate,
yeah.
everybody, you know, I can't talk like him for even a minute without coughing.
He say that Rolling Stones sucks and the Beatles are better.
That was exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm a big Rolling Stones fan and Beatles fan. But he was telling me, he was having this debate with me. He said, you know, everyone says the Rolling Stones are the bad boys and the Beatles are the pretty boys.
Yeah,
he said,
that interview.
The Beatles like grew up in a working class neighborhood. They had to fight their way to and from school every day. He's like, the Beatles kick your ass. The Rolling Stones are a bunch of London boys. They're just, you know, they're from the big city. And so he had this whole, Lemmy had this whole theory that the Beatles were like the actual bad boys and the Rolling Stones were actually the sort of softy pies, which is pretty funny to hear from
that
Lemmy.
Interview.
What?
Yeah.
How was the first time that you heard that you were gonna be in the Warped Tour?
Oh my God!
It's just a festival with a lot of artists. You know, it's.
Yeah, no, it was a dream. It was a dream for us to, you know, because our record, we made our record in this, our first record, Start Static, we made in the spring of, we finished our record in the spring of 2001, and we knew it was going to come out at the end of the summer of 2001, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to spend our time to set the record up and promote it, and we hadn't really toured at all. I mean, we played in California here and there, and maybe one time we went out to Texas. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, now what are we going to do? And then we got the Warped Tour, and we got it only for like 10 days, maybe 11 days. And we were so ecstatic to be playing the Warped Tour. And so we got to go on it. And then we started to play, and people liked us, and everyone working on the tour like got along with us, and the other bands were kind of becoming our friends. And the head of the Warped Tour, Kevin Lyman, offered us, he said, hey man, if you guys are having a good time on this tour, why don't you just stay on the whole tour? So they invited us. We only had 10 days, and then they invited us to stay the whole 2 months. And it was just incredible. That was like how we kind of, I really credit the Warped Tour 2001 with like all of Sugarcult's success. It really helped us like, you know, spread the fire all over the country and get a lot of, get a lot of new fans, meet a lot of people in other bands. You know, people, Warped Tour is amazing because you have like 100 bands playing, so everyone gets to know each other. And we had like, you know, Rancid coming up to us, and Real Big Fish, and Goldfinger, and Good Charlotte, and Newfound Glory, and Sum 41. All these bands we kind of became friends with, and even Fat Mike from NoFX, he actually wanted to put Sugarcult out on his label. He wanted to do an EP with us. I wish we would have done that. So we just became like, we earned everyone's respect and earned their trust. Again, like I said, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of this talk. The Warped Tour, it's another little campfire, and you just get everyone together, and you all have mutual respect because you're all a bunch of bands. You sound different. Everyone's got their own style of music. Everyone dresses differently. But at the end of the day, you're all sort of there for this reason. You have this thing in common. You're in a band. You're on tour. You treat people with respect. You're not trying to act like a rock star. No one's trying to act like they're better than anyone else. And you really like feel that. You know, we became good friends with AFI. They were really nice to us. And you wouldn't think Sugarcult and AFI had anything in common, but we'd go to dinner together. We'd talk about Elvis Costello together. You know, it's just, and then we got invited on the Warped Tour the next year, and we did it again. And we shared a bus with the Used just as they were starting to become really big. And
you like AFI?
What's that?
You like AFI?
Oh, I love AFI. They're awesome.
Yeah.
And such a good show. Like, we learned a lot from AFI from watching them play on the Warped Tour. We thought we were pretty energetic on stage, and we were like, when we saw them, we were like, oh fuck, these guys are a whole other level. It's just like a non-stop physical, like you watch AFI. Yeah. It's like
I've seen a few recitals, and he's always jumping to everywhere, and just
extraordinary, and they look cool and everything. It's awesome. Oh shit! Hold on for 1 second. Yes.
I have, if you can, I may ask just two more, and you
Yeah,
can we
real
can.
quick, because then I have to jump.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
So, how did you see in that moment in the Warped Tour, the presence of a lot of bands with girls? You know, in the '90s, there was no so much bands with girls. At least just in the 2000s, where Avril Lavigne and Hayley Williams, for example, from Paramore. You know, how did you see it? Like one of the members of Warped Tour.
Hey, hold on for 1 second. Hold on for 1 second. Hey, Bill, give me like 5 minutes, okay? Let me just do real quick, and then we'll go a little longer. All right, cool. Sorry, dude. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Wait, so you're just asking about like, did we see a lot of bands with girls?
Yeah, you know that in the '90s there was no much bands in the Warped Tour. You know,
Yeah, I don't know. I think in the '90s there's always been a lot of women in music. You know, obviously, like you have.
yes, there
you
was
know,
not
Jet,
so much like with so much people assistant. You know,
Yeah,
it was,
I guess. I mean, you had a lot of girls that were like the bass player of like the Pixies or
Yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins or Super Chunk or whatever. But like, and then there was the Breeders, and I mean, there was a lot of female artists in the '90s. They just were more from like a different genre. Like you had Alanis Morissette and Sarah McLachlan, and
yeah,
but in the 2000s, I think it just goes back to like things like the Warped Tour really spread the idea around the world that like
Yeah.
this is a really inclusive kind of music community,
Yeah.
and you know, you don't have to be particularly like it's
music
very
is
much-
for everyone. Music is for
Yeah.
everyone.
it's very, to me, like the spirit of punk rock gets, I feel like punk rock gets assigned to a sound, but to me it's more of a nice. I see the footage of Sugarcult playing. Punk rock is more, to me, punk rock is less about a certain sound. It's more about an energy. It's more about a spirit. It's like, and the idea of like just breaking boundaries, doing it whether you know how to do it or not, figuring it out as you go. It's a really, to me, it's like what always attracted to me to the idea of the community of punk rock was like it's inclusive. You know, it doesn't matter if you're pretty or if you're ugly or if you're a boy or if you're a girl or if you're young or if you're old or if you're, you know, straight or if you're gay or whatever. You know, it's just like it's just a really inclusive kind of music, and to me, the community comes before the music and comes before the genre. Like, I mean, we're like, Sugarcult are friends with Pennywise. You know what I mean? It's like, I never think Pennywise is so different than Sugarcult, but yet we're all part of the same community. So it's like, that's what's so cool about it. You know, even the old guys, like the guys from the Ramones and the Black Flag and the Misfits, they would come into the Warped Tour and like, they're cool too. Like you're hanging out with some guy who's like 20 years older than you, and he's from like the 1970s, and they're checking out your band. It's just, there isn't like age barriers or gender barriers. It's just really kind of a cool thing, you know? You know, I'd be hanging out with AFI and they're like hardcore vegans and I'm like eating a fucking hamburger. You know what I mean? It's like, they're not judging me for eating meat. I'm not judging them for eating fucking lettuce. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a really cool world. And, yeah, I love, and there's so many rad girls doing the music now. There's
I remember that
I love the new Lindas. They're awesome, you know.
subgenre in the 90s, the riot of the girls of band rocks,
Well, like Riot Girl, you know, like Bikini Kill and stuff like that. Yeah.
Le Tigre, Bratmobile.
Tigre, yeah.
That's
Good
girls
stuff.
in the
All that
90s doing punk rock.
Totally. I mean, to me, girls have been part of punk rock since the start. You know, you go back to the LA in the 70s, you had Alice Bag, you had Exene from X, you had the Go-Go's who started out as a punk rock band, you had the Germs who had a girl bass player, and originally the singer of the Go-Go's played drums in the Germs. You know, to me, it's like, I mean, even in England, you had the Slits. You had X-Ray Specs. You know, I feel like girls have always been a part of punk rock because, you know, I feel like girls have always been part of punk rock because pushed to the side. Girls have been pushed to the side. It's always like, oh, this is a boys club. It's always like, oh, again, punk rock's the perfect place. So anyone who doesn't fit in anywhere else, let's go. Come on in, let's go. You know,
Doesn't matter if you're a boy, a girl, alien.
some of my biggest influences are women. I love Kim Shattuck from the Muffs. I love Joan Jett from the Runaways, and obviously the Blackhearts. You know, I love a lot of the old girl groups like the Shangri-Las. You know, it's so.
What do you think about Heart?
Ramones fan, and Ramones leads you to that stuff. You know, it's you know, I just think it's just so fun. I like music from all over the world. You know, I love a lot of like music like from different cultures. Like I love reggae. It's not I'm not going to play reggae, but I love listening to it. I love electronic music. You know, I don't really play electronic music, but I love listening to it. I like music that I don't know how to play.
Do you heard something from Argentina? From an Argentinian band?
There's a band I found from Argentina that I love called Pacifica. You know them?
Pacifica, yeah.
Yeah, two girls. It's two girls and two guys. And I saw them play at this dive bar in LA. And my friend Gabe, who was the singer of a band called Midtown and Cobra Starship, he manages them, I think. I want to tell you something that's crazy. I think Pacifica is going to blow up. I think they're like they remind me. It reminds me of like Joan Jett mixed with or it reminds me of Elastica and the Strokes, and like I don't know, they're really cool.
I personally recommend you the band Rata Blanca. It's power metal.
Will you send it to me on my Instagram?
Yeah.
DM it to me. And there's an artist I worked with from Argentina that's really cool. You have to check her out. She's one of the coolest artists I've seen. It's called Dicha. So it's Bicha, and I worked on some songs with her. She has music in Spanish and some music in English. So look up Dicha. She's from Buenos Aires, I think. I think she lives in LA, but she's from your country. Bicha, Dicha.
Yeah, I really didn't knew it.
What's that?
I didn't know it. That was a band.
You got to check out Bicha, check out Pacifica. I think we have to go. But I'll tell you what, can you put my Instagram, Marko DeSantis, MARKO DESANTIS, put my Instagram handle on your socials or whatever. And if anybody in Argentina wants to get in touch with me, like I respond to most people's messages, just hit me up.
Of course.
And I really am curious, like someone sent me a playlist of good music from Argentina. And let me know what's up. I'm going to come down there sometime, and I'm going to come find you guys, and we're going to go out and have some beers. All right?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Wherever you want.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
All right.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
Peace. All right. See you guys.
We see ya.
Chaval.
A ver, cortar directo y opinamos.
No, opinamos en directo.
¿Opinamos en directo?
Opinamos en directo. Justo le iba a hacer la última pregunta y...
Igual bastante tiempo se quedó, amigo.
Igual se me escuchaba muy mal el micrófono.
Cuando hablabas al mismo tiempo que él se te escuchaba mal, boludo.
Pero bueno,
me dijo que le pasé tema, boludo. Se lo voy a pasar por el tema de Rata Blanca, boludo.
Banco. ¿Qué te iba a decir? Sí, bueno, le pudimos hacer yo conté acá 8 preguntas de las que habíamos escrito.
O sea, eran como 16, ¿no? Las preguntas le llegaste a hacer 8.
Sí. 17. Che, nos vamos a tomar birra. ¿Tenés plata para viajar a Estados Unidos?
Está difícil.
Está complicado, ¿no?
Amigo, en una me tiró... Cuando tiré la metáfora de como que ir a ver a bandas, era como combustible. Dijo, you're a great dude. Boludo, me subió de una manera, amigo.
Sí.
Boludo.
No sé qué opinás vos de la gente del chat. ¿Algo que quieras decir?
A ver, tengo que leer el
chat. Yo quiero mandar un saludo obviamente a mi vieja que también comentó, a mi pana Gamel, que está siempre en todas y paso, y a mi tía, que también está comentando, a mi tía Erika.
O sea, ¿qué fue lo que me preguntaste?
¿Qué opinás de los mensajes del chat? ¿Algo que decir?
A ver, ¿qué dice? Tienen la posta que te ibas a preguntar. Mejor no sé, muchachos.
Para lo último, le iba a preguntar, era una cosa igual ya estaba... O sea, menos mal que no hice la pregunta porque era como un poco fuera de contexto, que era... si él desde como compositor había notado que Lights Out, el tercer disco, era como más oscuro que los anteriores, pero bueno, estaba corto de tiempo.
Igual acá, amigo, te digo, no se hablan los tecnicismos en público, pero bueno, no quisiste cortar directo, así que te lo digo, amigo, de acá 800 shorts, fácil.
Sí,
800 shorts. Yo cuando tenga tiempo libre, amigo, me pongo con el traductor, pero cada puta palabra que dijo, subtitulo todo, amigo.
Vos pensás lo siguiente, no se habla de tecnicismos en dónde, en un podcast normal. Y nosotros estamos haciendo podcast, no, estamos haciendo un anti-podcast. O sea que acá se habla de todo sin filtro. Acá no hay.
Entonces después cuando nos repartimos las ganancias, yo me quedo el 90 y vos el 10, ¿no? Como acordamos.
Yo es lo que estoy viendo para vivir.
Bien comunista.
Bien comunista, ¿verdad?
Muy
Tipo,
bien.
cagame impuestos y ya está. Y sácame todo, ¿verdad? El chupame la pija Totayer, dice.
¿Qué dijo?
El chupame la pija Totayer, dice.
Amigo, ese primer shot, chupame la verga. Le salió re mexicano, boludo. Se me de California.
Pará, pero encima, la otra frase que sabía era: ¿tienes mota? Dice.
Esa no la escuché.
A mí me preguntó si tenía marihuana, no tengo.
¿Qué no vas a tener?
No, amigo, nunca. Yo soy un chico bien, bro. Pero sí, ¿cómo lo viste? ¿Cómo lo viste dentro de todo? En general, ¿no?
Boludo. Tipazo.
De todas las entrevistas.
Aparte, lo que nos sirve, le gusta hablar, boludo. Le gusta hablar.
Sí. Sí, yo por suerte, yo le entendí todo y como que trataba de meter bocado, ¿viste? Pero como te digo, como se escuchaba medio como con delay en mi micrófono y se escuchaba medio mal, es como que no. A vos se te acabó.
Bien, me parece. Tanto quilombo que tuvimos con mi micrófono al final.
¿Sí, mejor se escuchó?
Amigo, ojo, yo dije de que se le acomodó la casa, este tema no lo va a tocar ni en pedo. Amigo, lo usó como metáfora. La mitad del dijo, lo usó como metáfora de lo. No, es un genio, boludo.
Pasa,
Hijo de
amigo.
puta.
Humor negro full.
Lo usó como metáfora. Lo usó como metáfora de lo que estaba diciendo, del mundo del pop punk, todas esas bandas, como que era todo un fuego y era literal, era como un amor general.
Gamel acá en los comentarios dice: se sintió muy cómodo con ustedes, un éxito. La verdad que, ¿qué opinas? Yo lo vi muy cómodo, la verdad, La verdad que.
Sí, boludo. Me halagó el gorro de Nirvana, amigo.
Sí, no, tipazo, boludo. Tipazo mal, chabón, tipazo. Nada, para los que no conocían mucho, bueno, les voy a traducir un poco lo que decía la introducción, porque muchos llegaron, viste, como que, ¿qué carajo está leyendo el loco en inglés, viste? Nada, dice que Marko DESANTIS, hablando de grandes músicos, es una persona que fue, bueno, como escucharon, que contaba él en sus anécdotas, fue una persona que influenció diferentes bandas a lo largo de los años, de la época más que nada de los
Quédense tranquilos que en los shorts vamos a subtitular todo, lo nuestro, lo de él, todo lo vamos a subtitular, lo vamos a subir, van a salir 800 todo lo vamos a subtitular, lo vamos a subir, van a salir tiempo de editarlos, shorts de acá un mes. Yo sé que Lauti va a hacer su laburo como buen esclavo. Yo sé que Lauti va a hacer su laburo como buen esclavo que es. Aparte no labura, así que algo tiene que no labura, así que
seguramente en estos días van a estar viendo, o sea, vieron que estaban ya como apagada la página, bueno, ahora van a ver que está todos los días diferente, no todos los días, pero bueno, día por medio, ahí vamos a estar sacando.
Igual, entonces, usemos esto, que salga un gachetazo para ir haciendo los siguientes capítulos, boludo, lo dejamos recolgado.
Obvio. Obviamente, no crean que esto fue todo porque se viene. Yo la tiro nomás, ya estoy ahí averiguando si podemos conseguir con alguna otra bandita. Que mucha gente que escucha pop punk y le gusta mucho el palo, sabe a quién nombro cuando digo Phoenix TX. Así que los que conocen ya saben que estoy ahí como que resolviendo las cosas y posiblemente, quién sabe. Yo tiro el nombre, ¿viste? Ahí como tipo re mística.
A mí aparte, vos entendés que empezó la charla diciendo que capaz había un rumor de que Sugarcult en Argentina. Fue lo primero que dijo, boludo.
No les puedo decir más nada por un tema de legales, pero puede ser.
Amigo. No. Una locura.
Amigo, pero vi a Argentina, amigo, y te juro que me pago yo el bar de Palermo, boludo. Para ir a tomar, el chabón. Te juro.
Tipazo, boludo. Tipazo.
Sí, ahora que leo bien, igual hay un par de preguntas que menos mal que no se las hice porque como que no están mal, son preguntas bien hechas, pero es como que no encajaban en la charla que tuvimos, ¿viste?
En un momento hablamos de comida y colgué en preguntarle cuál era su comida favorita.
Sí, ¿no?
Pero dijo que le gustaba la comida mexicana. Va, como toda persona que vive en California. Sé que Tom DeLonge es fanático de la comida mexicana también.
Sí, sí. Bueno, viste que hace poco él había dicho que todo el mundo le llamaba Tom DeLonge y que el chabón dijo, I'm not Tom DeLonge, I am Tom DeLonge, dice.
¿Eso lo dijo en la entrevista? No.
Sí, sí, en una entrevista hace poco había dicho eso, porque le habían preguntado al chabón cómo era el tema de la pronunciación del nombre, porque todo el mundo le decía, no digo los presentadores, algunos presentadores le decían Tom DeLonge, le decían al chabón. Tipo, re así italiano, Tom DeLonge.
Where are you?
Dice, I am not Tom DeLonge, I am Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge. ¿Cómo se llama? Viste que el loco, nada, tiró esa de que posiblemente venga a Argentina, así que vos qué opinás al respecto de la vuelta de Sugarcult a Argentina?
¿La vuelta o la primera llegada? La primera conquista.
La primera llegada.
O sea, opino que, nada, lo voy a ver, esa es mi opinión. Y voy a ver si me puedo subir al escenario y decir, ¿te acordás de quiénes te entrevistaron? Soy yo, le digo. Y acá está mi amigo, y todo transpirado, el loco.
Claro, sí,
Todo un pedo sin remera, boludo. Corté.
Viste que igual yo lo que sí noté es que no hablo mucho de Tim Panota, del cantante, ¿viste? Es como que no hablo mucho, pero igual
Capaz.
no hay nada malo, porque viste que el chabón dijo que vuelven como Sugarcult, así que evidentemente.
Pero hubo una pelea, esa parte del lore no la leí, lo último que pasó.
No hubo una pelea, pero la banda es como que ya después, ¿viste esas típicas bandas que por X razones es como que hacen, como que están en hiatus, por diferentes razones, tipo sea estilo de vida, esas cosas? Bueno, Tim Panota es un chabón que hoy por hoy, él es más que nada, se dedica mucho al área de producción, ¿viste? Él es padre de familia, es como que ya un poco tiene de lado ese, lo que vendría a ser la parte musical a nivel de tocar. Porque a nivel producción él sigue trabajando eso y de hecho ha producido, para los que conozcan un poco más el mundo del pop, ha producido álbumes como de Neon Trees. Por ejemplo, no sé si vos te acordás de la propaganda de Personal de hace 10 años, que estaba la mina tirándose a la pileta. Que está el tema ese, It started with a kiss, yeah, na, 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 na.
No me acuerdo.
El tema ese Personal lo produjo Tim Panota, el cantante de Sugarcult, lo produjo. A la banda.
Vos, boludo, la conexión que hiciste con tal de tener el
De
concepto
hecho,
de Sugarcult en Argentina.
claro, sí, sí. Aparte, de hecho, el chabón también produjo. No me sale ahora el nombre de la canción. ¿Viste? Bueno, Panic! At the Disco tenía un bajista que, por X motivos, se terminó como peleando con la banda y hizo una banda con el baterista de Falling Rivers, que se llama I Don't Know How, But They Found Me. Una banda también así tirando a pop medio psicodélico. Y nada, y el chabón produjo también todo lo que venía a ser el disco más, el disco de presentación de ellos y lo que fue su disco más exitoso, digamos, del dúo pop. Por digo, el chabón es como que nunca se fue del palo de la música, pero es como que pasó a un rol más pasivo, más al lado de la producción que de ponerte con la guitarra a tocar para la gente.
Y un poco por la edad también, capaz no te da la cosa tanto como para salir a los escenarios, pero sí seguir produciendo desde el estudio.
Claro,
La oficina, digamos.
más o menos igual, porque ellos, si mal no recuerdo, ya te digo, te confirmo el año, creo que Lights Out es del 2006, si mal no recuerdo, ¿verdad? Pero bueno, la cuestión es que...
No, que músicos viejos, eso seguro, boludo, mirá el Mick Jagger, o sea...
Sí, no, 2006 es. Ellos cuando sacan Lights Out, en el 2006, es como que ahí empieza, hacen una gira y después como que empiezan como digo, a tomar un rol más pasivo y como 5 o 6 años después se reúnen para hacer un recital más, ¿viste? Pero nada, es como que ahí tienen apariciones muy concretas como Sugarcult, pero no es que siguen una línea de, como se llama, de recitales o de giras, ¿viste?
Claro.
Entonces es como que
o sea, no tiene una fecha de que se disolvieron, no tiene una fecha exacta, ¿o sí?
Viste que el chabón, o sea, al decirte que van a volver como Sugarcult, y más que nada a Argentina, evidentemente te está diciendo entre líneas que tipo, no hubo una separación, no hubo una pelea, nada, pero como que si no están más es porque, como te digo, por el tema del desgaste mismo también de estilos de vida, diferentes caminos, esas cosas. Entonces,
sí,
bueno.
O sea, no me lo esperaba, pero para nada, amigo. La posta que... Una locura, boludo.
¿Qué parte
El país que menos pensé que iba a tener en cuenta, pero sí, de una, boludo. Tenemos que ir, te pago. Amigo, te pago yo la entrada. Te pago yo la entrada, boludo. Si hace falta.
¿Qué parte te gustó más o te sentiste más como cómodo, digamos, de la entrevista?
La de que hablamos de comida mexicana, boludo. Esa parte de la conversación en donde estábamos medio... Esa parte me gustó mucho y la de lo que hablamos de las influencias que le tiré la de lo que dijo Lemmy en la entrevista, y el chavo me dijo, es exactamente lo que me dijo. Que dijo que los Beatles eran mejor que los Rolling Stones, porque eran unos chicos malos. Porque es que es textual lo que dijo Lemmy en la entrevista, por eso.
Sí, bueno, es que vos sabés que ya y no se me escuchó el micro, pero le estaba por contar que hay una entrevista de David Grohl en la que él dice lo mismo. Cuando habla de Lemmy, lo cuenta así como, yeah, I'm doing. No sé qué. Tipo, aparecía Lemmy así, de la nada, estaba ahí, aparecía, lo senté José ahí y te decía, yeah, I think that's the way. Y hablaba todo así como que reconstruido, Lemmy.
Amigo, y cuando también me la resubió cuando en las influencias de punk mencionaba Suicidal Tendencies, boludo.
Sí.
Me la resubió, amigo. Justo la que estoy escuchando más ahora últimamente. Viste que me parece el hijo, voy a buscarlo porque no estoy seguro. El hijo del bajista de Metallica es el bajista en Suicidal Tendencies.
No sé, me mataste. ¿Qué te iba a decir? Viste que el chabón.
Ahora escucha un segundo, boludo. Trujillo. ¿Qué miembro de Metallica? Robert Trujillo.
Ah, el hijo de Trujillo.
El hijo de Trujillo toca en Suicidal Tendencies.
¿Mirá? Te juro que no sabía.
Boludo. Siguiendo el linaje del padre. Una locura, boludo. Me enteré hace poco.
Banco, boludo, banco.
Sí. Se llama Tai Trujillo.
Guy Trujillo, de A.
Tai, con T.
Bueno, igual como es el mes del orgullo, es Guy Trujillo.
Hijo de puta, boludo. No lo ataques al pibe que tiene, ¿cuánto? Decide bien.
Saludos a Guy Trujillo. Vos el próximo en ser entrevistado.
Podría ser, ojo.
Yo te dije, amigo, para la gente que está acá viendo y se pregunte cómo carajo llegamos a Marco DESANTIS, primero que nada, confianza en uno mismo. Primero que nada, confiar en que vas a conseguir tener esa entrevista y que por tus pelotas que la vas a conseguir. Segundo, nada, ser básicamente un acosador, un groomer de las redes de los peores, tipo ponerte ahí a escribirle a 80 artistas diferentes, tipo flaco. Nada, tenemos un podcast y queremos entrevistarte, si te copa la idea, bueno, así. No hay mucho
Tercero, cojan algo de experiencia en Omegle hablando con extranjeros. Lo bueno de Omegle es que pueden ser todo lo funable que quieran, todo lo cancelable que quieran.
De hecho,
Te pone una cámara con 8 negros ahí, le decís niga a cada uno y no pasa nada. Porque puedes practicar medio tus límites. Después el resto, repasar un poco de inglés. Igual me gustaría para la próxima entrevistar a uno de habla hispana, boludo, porque
bueno,
me costó una banda del idioma entre que estaba nervioso, boludo, y bueno, lo poco que le entendía, yo le entendí el 40% de lo que decía, boludo. Yo cuando decía algo era porque se me ocurría algo que sabía que se iba a entender. Igual me dijo que mi inglés estaba bien, boludo, ¿viste? Que me dijo.
Yo por suerte le entendí todo, pero como te digo, con el tema del micrófono.
Yo 40% fácil, pero amigo, ¿viste que me dijo que mi inglés estaba bastante bien? Eso tampoco me lo esperaba, boludo.
Bueno, pero ¿sabés qué pasa? Que a veces vos tenés en cuenta lo siguiente, los chabones cuando te escuchan hablarlo de afuera, tienen mucho en cuenta tu vocabulario de palabras, no tanto la pronunciación, porque saben que nunca vas a lograr, o sea, no que nunca, pero que es muy difícil, siendo de habla hispana, lograr una pronunciación muy perfecta en inglés, ¿entendés? Y que a veces, quizás en llamada, conviene más tener una pronunciación incorrecta como para hacer entender mejor las palabras, ¿viste? A no ser que uses palabras muy concretas que tengan que tener.
Me mató, boludo, que él sí supo decir dulce de leche. Dijo dulce de leche, algo así.
Dulce de leche. Le va la mejor, pero lejos, como dijo Camila acá, top tier, boludo, chupame la verga.
Bueno, consejo para llegar a Marco DESANTIS. Tenían un rego los pibes ahora, ¿viste? Por mi parte, nada, tener un amigo desempleado y que le guste la música.
Nada, por mi parte.
No, el pibe no sabe una mierda de computadora, sabe menos que yo.
Por mi parte les puedo recomendar nada, que. Como les dije antes, que simplemente no se rindan, insistan en conseguir la entrevista que quieren conseguir, en escribir las veces que haya que escribir. Siempre del lado del respeto, siempre del lado de teniendo en cuenta que estamos hablando con una persona de alta exposición al público.
Sí, yo
nada.
de hecho estaba teniendo un debate con mi libre albedrío. Yo a mitad de la entrevista estaba diciendo, che, puedo pararme en la silla y asomar la verga cuando quiero, total. Tengo toda la libertad de hacerlo, pero está otra parte de mí diciendo, che, loco, dale, son pocas oportunidades en la vida, no seas boludo. O
Sí,
sea,
sí.
el- entonces tienen que controlar un poco esa parte también, porque si no se pueden mandar muchas cagadas.
Claro. Por eso te decía que también estuvo bueno la parte en la que él mencionaba lo que yo te decía recién, que para mí tiene muy, vos sabés que eso para mí es muy importante lo que él dijo, porque nosotros como argentinos, siendo parte del hemisferio sur y no siendo, digamos, personas muy cercanas, digamos, a lo que es la cultura de Estados Unidos en general, es muy loco como el chabón contaba, viste, que Sugarcult es una banda que a lo mejor no es masiva como banda, no es masiva. Sin embargo, cuando el chabón se sorprendió cuando empezó a escuchar o hablar con otros artistas, como bueno, como contaba con Killing Queen o con Big Fuentes de Pierce DeVille, que él contaba que dice que los tenían como influencia o que habían escuchado cierto tema y como que les había movido un poco, ¿viste? Y es loco, uno capaz que se piensa, claro, Sugarcult, vas a Spotify, 5.000 personas lo escuchan, no, ¿quién los conoce, viste? Decís vos, ¿quién los conoce? Y nada, después te pones a escuchar, como en nuestro caso entrevistamos al guitarrista y te enterás de estas cosas que vos decís, wow. Entonces a lo mejor ahí te enterás que quizás no todo pasa por Spotify, que es lo que creen, por ejemplo, la gente que hace los trends de Spotify o las listas de Spotify, ¿no? Los rankings también. Que ellos se creen que todo pasa por Spotify y que el resto de medios no existe, ¿viste? O que a lo mejor si es masivo en Spotify, significa que es masivo en todas las plataformas, ¿viste? Y a lo mejor no es así. Eso es como, yo lo considero por lo menos un cachetazo a la industria.
Y dijo, convengamos, debe tener un resentimiento a las discográficas, porque las discográficas han arruinado muchas bandas.
Sí.
Te aposta que, em, más que nada por cuestiones empresariales y demás, lo que tienen que hacer tan empresarias y demás, o sea, más con que solo les importa la plata, han literalmente asesinado. De hecho, ayer leía, boludo, yo me había olvidado por completo que se había resuelto el caso del rapero Cancerbero.
Sí,
Amigo, lo asesinó la manager.
sí, 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 así es. La
Lo
misma.
asesinó la puta manager, pero encima, igual me parece medio raro, ¿eh? Cómo resolvieron el caso. Tipo, para mí hay algo más en el trasfondo, porque siento como que fue en el 2023, reabrieron la investigación y como que la resolvieron rápido, como que ya eran culpables y como que muy rápido, y como que ya la condenaron. Me pareció medio extraño. El video de la mina confesando el asesinato, o sea, pienso un mayor porcentaje que es verdad, pero me pareció extraño.
Sí.
Simplemente me pareció extraño. Qué
¿Qué
sé
le
yo.
quiero decir?
Por la
Bueno,
rama. El-
quiero tirar una bombita ahí que no es que no se sabía, porque lo hemos comentado ya en el primer capítulo, pero bueno, hace poco tratamos como de grabar, ponele, pero bueno, te prometemos que lo vamos a hacer con mejor calidad para poder traerles un buen producto. Vamos a hacer el capítulo 3, quiero spoilerles un poco, va a ser sobre Toxicity,
¿No
aquellos
era el
que...
capítulo 2?
Y él se le capturó la entrevista, digamos. Tipo, yo lo
No,
subí
pero
como
no es parte pero no es parte de la saga, digamos. Está la saga de entrevistas a músicos y
¿no?
¿qué opinan, chat? Yo creo
Lo,
que
lo hacemos serie, lo hacemos serie.
no, boludo, la saga, una cosa.
No, pero digo, a mí, si vos me decís, si vos estás de acuerdo con que hay que hacer una serie aparte de entrevistas, yo te recibo, boludo, te recibo. Me encanta. ¿Se te cortó el audio? ¿Se te cortó el audio? No te escucho. Tranqui, igual ya la entrevista pasó todo, así que tomate tu tiempo tranqui para resolverlo. Nada, yo mientras tanto me dedico acá a entretener un poco al chat. Voy a leer un par de mensajes. Bueno, acá la mayoría de los mensajes los dejó Prave XT, Gamel. Nada, me está retando porque yo soy una persona que entrena y no me toca entrenar hoy, pero quiere que vaya igual. Así que nada, obviamente saludos a todos los del chat, todos los que estuvieron comentando, a mi viejo, a mi tía, a mi vieja, a todos. Y nada, mientras Nico resuelve el problemita del micro, no se te escucha, ¿eh? Mientras Nico resuelve el problemita del micro, vamos a ver qué más podemos ir haciendo. A ver. Básicamente nada. ¿Fuiste? ¿Cero? ¿Probaste? ¿Conectando los auris? A ver, ahí me explico el chat. ¿Está conectado? Se me cortó. Ah, bueno. Bueno, entonces, viendo que no te podés reconectar, tranqui que vamos a hacer una cosa. Lamentablemente no vamos a poder escuchar la despedida de Nico, pero yo voy a proceder a hacerla en nombre de nosotros. Bueno, primero que nada, banco, no tomes, pará, no tomes. Dame un segundo que te acompaño. Pará, ¿Qué te decía? Ahí está, mirá. ¿Bebés? Uno, dos, tres. Ahora sí. Así que nada, bueno. Siendo que vos no te podés despedir, yo te despido en nombre de todos. Muchas gracias a todos por haber participado, por haber estado, haber comentado. Creo que Nico estará igual de agradecido que yo con todos ustedes. Y nada, esperemos vernos pronto ya con el capítulo 3, con el capítulo 2. Vamos a hacerle una saga aparte de las entrevistas. Así que esperemos que pueda haber más capítulos en la saga de entrevistas. Y nada, seguramente el domingo o quizás uno de estos días vamos a estar viendo bien, revisando el tema de los horarios, qué días podemos, qué días no. Más que nada Nico, que está lamentablemente, bueno, tiene un temita con la facultad y está muy cargado. Tiene unos huevos. Así que nada, nos vamos a estar viendo pronto, seguramente con Toxicity, de System of a Down, clasicazo para muchos. Y nada, esto fue la entrevista a Marko DESANTIS, por nada más y nada menos que ya fue el podcast.
Anna's got a secret that she don't wanna tell no one. Anna's got her demons, they're cashing in the kicks for fun. I won't let no one get tomorrow. I won't let no one get tomorrow. Get back on track. Love's cheap when it's for sale this fast. Get back on track. Love's cheap when it comes from my got a secret that she don't wanna tell no one. Anna's got her demons, they're cashing in the kicks for fun.